Hello and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that all it wants to do is have some fun. I got a feeling it's not the only one. Speaking of Sheryl Crow, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Santa Monica from AEG. In Santa Monica from AEG, 2 to 4 players are going to go ahead and try to take on building the best kind of beach and streets around the beach, the best kind of oceanside area for their buck. And they're going to do it with using cards and building a tableau of cards in front of them. Now, at the beginning of the game, each player is going to take kind of their starting tile, and it's going to be long, and it's going to have a part of the beach and part of the street in front of it. Now, all of the kind of cards that you're going to be building with, they are all either going to be that beach or on the street in front of it. You're going to go ahead, you're going to shuffle those, and you're going to place those cards, 8 cards, into a grid in front of you, 4 by 2. You got a top row and a bottom row. Now, these can be, they're completely mixed up. Some of them, of course, are going to translate to the beachfront. Some of them are going to be the street in front of it. But you're going to be paying attention to the first row, the bottom row, because that's what you're going to draw from. More on that later. You're also going to select 2 of the sand dollar tiles. Now, sand dollar tiles are kind of special actions that you're going to be able to take during the game. You go ahead, you place those beside the feature cards that you've already laid out. You're also going to place the foodie and a food truck in front of some of the cards there, in front of different cards, and they're going to come into play as the game progresses as well. Now, you're also going to select one of the 3 scoring objective tiles. You're going to set that next to the feature card so everybody can see what it is, and these are special ways that you and your friends can score during the game. Now, there are 3 different types of meeples. You've got the blue locals, you've got the orange tourists, and you've got the green VIPs. And each of them are going to be able to do different things during the game. Now, on your turn, you're essentially going to select one of the feature cards from the bottom row. You're going to take whichever card you want to take, and you're going to place it next to your starting tile. You can either place it, like I say, as part of the street on the bottom or as part of the beach at the top. Now, most of these cards are going to have a certain specific type of action. For instance, you're going to start with a meeple there. You may be able to move one of the meeples. You may be able to gain a meeple. You may be able to do some other fun and interesting things, like gain sand dollars. But you go ahead, you can take whatever action it calls for, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to slide the top card above that bottom card you just took down to the bottom row and draw a new card for the top row. Now, your cards are also going to have tags on them. For instance, they're going to have places that are great to take a picture, or they're going to have places that are good for shopping, or they're going to have places that are good for surfing with waves. There's all sorts of different little tags. Now, depending on specific scoring conditions, you may be trying to group some of them together or to create separate groups of them, but you're always mindful of that when you are placing. Now, also, too, many of the cards will have kind of areas for where you want certain types of meeples to move. So when you select some cards, you may be selecting them for the action, which will allow your meeples to move to certain places in order to group there to fulfill a scoring condition. Now, instead of selecting a feature card, if you have sand dollar tokens, you can spend those to use the specific sand dollar action. Now, this is going to let you do all sorts of fun and different actions that may help you, as I say, move your meeples or manipulate items in certain ways. So that's going to come into play, and that's going to be an important part of trying to create the best beach you can. Now, also, your VIPs, which are the green meeples, when they move, they're going to leave footprints, green footprints. And there may be some specific scoring conditions tied to those footprints as well, so that's something you're going to want to be looking out for as well. Now, if you're going to select a feature from the feature row, one of the 4 cards, and the food truck is in front of it, that increases the value of that feature, meaning you'll move the food truck, but you also get to, in addition to taking the card, take a sand dollar as well. If the foodie is in front of the card you select, then that means you can take a special movement action with one of your meeples. And then, of course, if they're both in front of the same card, you can do 1 of each or 2 of 1. Now, as soon as someone has placed their 14th card, you finish the round. Then, once you finish the round, you go to scoring. Again, you're going to look at all sorts of factors. You're going to look at any chains of those tags that you've created, or groups of those tags you've created. You're going to see how many sand dollars you have left. You're going to look and see where your meeples are so that they could score for you. You're going to tally up all of those points that you've got, and whoever has the most points wins Santa Monica. So my friends and I played Santa Monica. It's an easy game to play. It's an easy game to teach. It's an easy game to learn. It's not difficult at all. There's some interesting challenges as far as when you select a card. Do you select the card because you want it for the features on there, the tags on there, to help create a chain or an adjacency point scoring, or do you want to take it for an action that maybe lets you move a meeple? Or do you choose a card because the foodie or the food truck's in front of it? Do you spend the sand dollars or not? And those are some of the decisions in it that are interesting. But at the end of the day, I kind of felt, and I wasn't alone in this, that the game's choices are a little more limited than I would have liked. And I don't know exactly how you would have added more in there, but the game's not a long game. And if it had been a longer game, it really would have been a problem for me. As it was, I liked this game. I didn't love it. I thought it had its charm, but it was a little too simple for me and a little too limiting for me. I think Holly and I think even George liked it a lot more than I did, but I was just kind of okay with it. I just thought it was a so-so game. I think if I could see this being a gateway game for people new to the hobby, or for people that just kind of want a smaller, a little more intimate game. That's got a little puzzle to it. I like this game. I didn't love it. So the recommendation for the discriminating gamer for Santa Monica is try it before you buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this ain't no disco. This ain't no country club, neither. This is Utah.